Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. Continuing on with NFL Week 1, we got a Friday night game. Good one, too. Packers-Eagles in Brazil. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, like I said, we got Green Bay, Philadelphia in Brazil. Eagles are 2.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 48.5 or 49, depending on your sports book. Let's go ahead and get into this one, and we'll start with the elephant in the room. We got a great offense against a bad defense here, if we're using the metrics from last year. Green Bay offensively 5th in yards per play, 5th in EPA, 8th in success rate, 9th in DVOA. Philadelphia's defense, pretty much the opposite. I mean, this is definitely a bottom 10 defense last year, maybe even a bottom 5 defense last year. 24th in yards per play allowed, 29th in EPA, 27th in success rate, 27th in DVOA. And the weird thing is these two units were almost opposites. The Eagles defense in weeks 1 through 8, pretty average, pretty middle of the pack. Weeks 9 on, terrible. One of the worst defenses in football. And inversely, the Packers offense, weeks 1 through 8, pretty average, maybe slightly below average. Weeks 9 on, one of the best offenses in football. So not only is this a great offense against a bad defense on paper last year, but they also had complete opposite trajectories as well. One thing I wanted to include here real quick, and I thought this is interesting, it comes from FTN. So Green Bay offensively, they saw a 20% DVOA boost in the second half of the season. So the second half of their season offensively, 20% increase in production. This has happened since 2010. This has happened 28 other times where an offense has seen a 20% or more production boost in the second half of the season. The 28 other instances where this happened, the team the following season saw a drop-off. In fact, an average drop-off of minus 3.5% from the entire previous season, not just the second half. In fact, if you just compare it to the second half where they were killing it offensively, it's minus 17.5%. Now, look, these are just numbers. This is just a pattern, take it or leave it. But I thought it was interesting that when teams have a huge production increase on the offensive side, the following year, they're actually worse offensively than the previous year overall. They don't just pick up where they left off on average. Now, of course, these are just numbers. Take them or leave it. But like I said, they are matched up against the Eagles defense, which was pretty terrible last year. But this is not the same Eagles defense. Vic Fangio takes over as defensive coordinator. Now, this is probably a good hire, but one thing I will say about Vic Fangio is it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, he was with the Dolphins last year for just one season. They were 19th in overall defensive DVOA. Now, they had some injuries, to be fair, but they were 22nd against the pass, 16th against the run. His tenure with the Bears, sure, when he left the team in 2018, they were the best defense in football, first in defensive DVOA. But his first year with the team, they were 20th. His second year with the team, 23rd. It took some time. It took a few years. Here's his tenure with Denver. In 2021, his third year with the team, yeah, they were the second best defense in football. First year was 8th, so this one doesn't exactly fit the mold, but the second year was 25th. The point I'm making is maybe Vic Fangio is the perfect guy to turn this Eagles defense around and get it back to being a top 10 defense, but I'm not sure if it happens overnight in week 1. I'm not even sure if it happens in year 1. One thing I do think we can count on from Vic Fangio, though, is man coverage. Last year, the Eagles were 10th in man coverage frequency. We know Vic Fangio likes to run himself some man coverage. I expect it to be even higher than that. And Jordan Love against man coverage, kind of weird. I mean, his EPA numbers are good. Turnover-worthy play rate is good. So he protects the football. He makes the right throws. But just 5.6 yards per pass attempt against man coverage. Had trouble getting the ball downfield when he saw man coverage. Now, it could be a reflection of his wide receivers not winning their battles, but thought it was interesting enough to put in here. Now, we do need to talk about the Eagles pass rush and, I mean, what happened to it. In 2022 to 2023, that season, 2 years ago, this was the best pass rush in the NFL, and it kind of wasn't even close. Last year, just 21st in adjusted sack rate. They need to turn that around. They need to get back to 2 years ago. And the thing is, I don't know if week 1 against Green Bay is going to be where we see the turnaround. I mean, Green Bay did a great job in pass protection last year. In fact, this was a top 10, maybe even a top 5 offensive line in terms of keeping Jordan Love safe. And speaking of that, even if by chance the Eagles pass rush is able to show up and look like the 2022-2023 Eagles pass rush, let's say they do show up and they are able to pressure Jordan Love. Want to know who one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL was last year when pressured? Jordan Love. 5th in the NFL in pressure to sack rate, so he doesn't take dumb sacks. 5th in yards per pass attempt, 7th in passer rating. It's a top 5 quarterback when pressured. So the Eagles pass rush, if it even shows up, I don't know if it's going to be much of a factor here. I don't like that at all for Philly. So I think Jordan Love's going to have some time to throw the football in this game. And as far as the Philadelphia secondary goes, sure, they addressed it in the NFL draft. They took defensive backs with their first 2 picks, first and second round. But look at their depth chart. Yeah, I like their safeties. Reed Blankenship played great last year. Yeah, they still have Darius Slay. But do you know there are 3 corners on the depth chart after Darius Slay? Rookie, second year. And the second year is Ringo, and he really struggled last year. 12.2 yards per reception allowed. He really struggled in his rookie season. So, yeah, you got Darius Slay. That's a really nice CB1. But after that, you got 3 really young, inexperienced corners. 2 of them are rookies. The other one's a second year that struggled last year. And I don't know if you've peeked at the Green Bay depth chart. Sure, they don't have a wide receiver 1. They don't have a superstar wide receiver, but they're pretty deep. They got 3 or 4 wide receivers that could beat you downfield. Now, one area of the Packers offense that I think we should be worried about is the run game. They lost Aaron Jones, brought in Josh Jacobs. We saw a serious drop in production from Josh Jacobs last year. He went from one of the better backs in football in 2022 to, one of the worst active running backs on a roster. Now, the Raiders' offensive line didn't do him any favors at all, but still, no question, Josh Jacobs was not a great back last year. I'm not sure if he's able to just jump in and fill the shoes of Aaron Jones, considering we saw how important Aaron Jones is to that offense. In fact, Aaron Jones was hurt, and when he came back from injury, that was almost synonymous to when we started seeing the Packers score a lot of points. Now, it wasn't all Aaron Jones. Jordan Love started playing out of his mind, but no question, we saw a visible difference when Aaron Jones was on the field for Green Bay versus when he was off. So I don't think that you just plug Josh Jacobs in and they're fine. I'm worried about the Packers rushing attack. Now, the good news for Green Bay is Philadelphia also struggled against the run. 4.3 yards per carry allowed, 19th in the NFL, 30th in run defense EPA, 19th in DVOA. So this was a below average to maybe even a bad run defense as well. They do bring in Devin White, which, yeah, that should help. They had some injuries to the linebacker position. Remember, Nakobe Dean missed the whole year or whatever. So they bring in Devin White, which should help. And look, PFF grades, take them or leave them. Take them with a grain of salt. Some people really don't like them. Whatever. Devin White, amongst 57 qualified linebackers, he was 57th against the run last year. Again, it's a PFF grade. Take them with a grain of salt. Thought it was interesting enough to put in the video. Now let's switch it over to the other side of the ball and talk about the Eagles offense. And if you're a Philly fan, this is the moment you've been waiting for. This is where things start to get positive for the Eagles. Now, last year was a little bit of a down year by Eagles standards. If you compare it to the year before. 12th in yards per play, 7th in EPA, 6th in success rate, 8th in DVOA. Pretty split as far as rushing and passing the ball. 11th in yards per pass attempt, 10th in yards per carry. As far as EPA goes, 9th passing, 4th rushing. So not a bad year by any means for the Eagles offense, but certainly a step backwards from where they were the year before. Now, one area of the Eagles offense you cannot criticize is the offensive line. This was still probably the best offensive line in football, ranked 3rd in run blocking, 1st in pass protection, 7th in adjusted sack rate allowed. Eagles offensive line is great, and yes, they lose Jason Kelce, but if you look at the rest of the pieces, this is still going to be one of the best offensive lines in football. I know a lot of people are saying the tush push is gone now that Jason Kelce isn't there, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But no question, this is still an elite offensive line. Not to mention they added a couple weapons. Saquon Barkley is in the backfield now. They also added Dotson, another receiving weapons. So, yeah, this Eagles offense is loaded. Kind of hard to poke holes in any aspect of this Eagles offense. I think they take a step forward and look more like the 2022-2023 Eagles offense this season, especially with the new weapons. And they're matched up against the Packers defense, which was easily the weakness of their team. 19th in yards per play allowed, 28th in overall defensive DVOA. Obviously, that's pretty terrible. Against the run, 4.5 yards per carry allowed, 25th in the NFL, 27th in pass defense DVOA, 26th in run defense DVOA. And it's definitely a nightmare for Green Bay that they're opening up their season against an athletic quarterback. Because if there's one thing the Packers defense can never seem to figure out, and this dates back multiple years, Packers fans will tell you this, it's scrambling quarterbacks. Last year against rushing quarterbacks, 31st in rushing yards per game allowed to QBs, 30th in yards per carry allowed to QBs. The last time Jalen Hurts faced Green Bay was back in 2022, granted, but he ran the ball 17 times for 157 yards. So yeah, the fact that Jalen Hurts is an athlete, definitely not great news for Green Bay. Now, last year's Green Bay defense ran a ton of zone coverage, 6th in zone coverage frequency. And you might look at Jalen Hurts' numbers and say, oh, wow, 6.95 yards per attempt, significantly down against zone. That should be a positive for the Packers. But hold on. Joe Barry is no longer the defensive coordinator for Green Bay. It's Jeff Hafley, who was with Boston College last year. And what does Boston College do? Or what did they do under Jeff Hafley? They ran a shitload of man coverage. In fact, they were 11th in the entire country in man coverage frequency. So even though we're looking at these numbers and they say 67.7% zone coverage frequency for Green Bay, I would imagine that's going to be flipped. Jeff Hafley ran a ton of man coverage last year with Boston College. I would imagine he wants to do the same thing with his new defense here in Green Bay. Not to mention the Packers finally have Eric Stokes healthy. So with Jair Alexander on one side, Eric Stokes on the other side, they have the corners, they have the personnel to try to pull off some man coverage. But what that means, it opens up some big play opportunities for Jalen Hurts, because dating back a couple years, Jalen Hurts' big plays in the passing game, they come against man coverage. Another angle I like for the Eagles offense here, they brought in Kellen Moore. And one thing Kellen Moore does a lot of, pre-snap motions. I mean, 5th most in the NFL last year with the Chargers. One thing the Eagles didn't do any of last year, pre-snap motion. Prop Beaver actually talked about this on the live show. I'm going to play the clip here.
Kellen Moore, he is the master of disguise. He's a man of surprise. And last year, he got fucking Vic Fangio fooled with 31 points in the first game of the season. I think he could catch Jeff Hafley fooled here too, because he has no idea what to expect. Kellen Moore, one of the highest motion rates in the league. The Philadelphia offense, one of the most static offenses in the league. Not one that has motion. Jeff Hafley has no clue what to expect here. Good fucking luck trying to guess what happens. Points.
So yeah, you heard it there. Points. And I agree, by the way, I'm on the over. But one last thing I want to mention, Green Bay, the second half of the season, it wasn't just Jordan Love that started going off and Aaron Jones. The defense picked it up a little bit as well. And what really woke up was the pass rush for the Packers. You can see their numbers on the season, 10th in blitz rate, 7th in pressure rate, 15th in adjusted sack rate. Not crazy, but the second half of the season, their pass rush was pretty good. The reason I'm bringing that up, I don't know if that's going to be a huge factor here. Not only the Eagles might have one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the NFL, but Jalen Hurts, yeah, he struggled with a lot of things last year. Pressure wasn't one of them. In fact, he was one of the best quarterbacks in football when pressured. 8th in pressure to sack rate, 10th in yards per attempt, 12th in passer rating, 3rd in turnover-worthy play rate. So he protected the football when pressured. So yeah, points. I'm expecting the Eagles to score points. I'm expecting the Packers to score points right back. I bet the over. I got it at 48.5, and you could still get 48.5s. A lot of books have moved it up to 49, but if you look, there's still 48.5s out there. So yeah, I bet this too. This isn't a lean. I bet the over in this one. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You can see mine there, as well as open bets from everyone on the staff here. So head over there if you're interested. Also, when you sign up for Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league, which starts on Thursday. Week 1. There's a new league every single week. The winner every week gets $150 and one of these handicapping trophies. So if you're interested in that, sign up to Sauce Network Plus and make sure you have your bets submitted for the first week by Thursday. It's not, you don't submit for the week, you submit new bets every single day. So week 1 of the betting league starts Thursday. Head over and sign up if you're interested.
All right, we're here with the underdog pick'em. Got a 2-piece. Obviously, I like points in this game, but I don't really want to pick where the points come from. So I like some rushing yards. We got Jalen Hurts, higher than 36.5 rushing yards. Last time he faced his Packers team, no, it was a different coordinator, but 150-plus rushing yards. Find it a bit hard to believe, even with Saquon, that the man can't get 40, nevertheless 37. So that is disrespectful. And then we got Josh Jacobs, higher than 63.5 rushing yards. The ever so compelling recurring guest, Matthew Modi, has the goal to say that Josh Jacobs is washed. Josh Jacobs is going to prove him wrong this Friday night in Brazil, Fogo de Chao style. Take the higher with me on both of these. Join me for the journey. And then for the underdog free square that they're giving us, ever so kindly, Travis Kelce over a half total yard. So that's the free pick square there. And then on the site, because they're just I mean, just such a kind site, Underdog. You can join up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit with the code BET. Yes, so if you want to join with us, up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit with the code BET.
Live shows, 4 p.m. Eastern Time weekdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time weekends. Sunday morning NFL show is usually pretty wild. We go through every single game on the board. That's going to be 11 a.m. to kickoff. So if you're able to make it, we also do the college football show, 10 a.m. to kick off on Saturday. So if you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a great NFL Week 1. Remember, it's a long season. Bet responsibly. We'll talk to you in the Discord.